Welcome everyone to the August 9th meeting of the Johnson City Regional Planning Commission. If you're here to speak about an item, please wait to be recognized by me when I open the public hearing. Once the public hearing has been opened, you're welcome to come one at a time to the podium up front, state your name and address, and then you'll have 3 minutes to make your comments. And we ask you to please limit your comments to addressing only the commission, not staff, and not each other. Thank you very much. I'll call this meeting to order. Commissioner Murphy, would you please lead us in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, let us pray. Dear Lord, we come and we gather today to conduct the business and the matters of this city. We pray, God, that you lead and guide us to make the right decisions that are pleasing unto your sight. I pray, Lord, that decisions that are made, that there is support and that we continue to grow in the right direction that you are leading us to go in. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we've got an agenda before us. Does anyone have any changes or adjustments to the agenda that they would like to request?
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, minutes of the meeting from July 12th. Those have been presented.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, I'll wait for Ms. Lockmiller to make it to the podium. Thank you for coming. I'm sorry. You didn't miss the fun part. Ms. Warren, I think you're up first on our first item of old business.
Good evening, Commission. This is the 58-acre annexation. As a reminder, you guys actually heard this at the last Planning Commission, so I'm not going to do too in-depth of a presentation this time because we've all had pretty extensive conversation about it. So just as a reminder for the policy steps and timeline, this is how that's kind of been adjusted. Because we had to go to the subcommittee and then come back in front of you all, we now have this new August 9th date, and then it'll follow the respective dates. So again, the request is a 58-acre territory located along Boones Station Road. The annexation corresponds with the proposed plan of services, which has not been changed since you guys heard this item last month. And the applicant is still seeking a zoning assignment of R2C. So again, this is the plan of services. Just like I mentioned, it's not been changed since your last meeting. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. But I do want to go ahead and dive into the zoning assignment conversation. So this is what you guys saw at the last meeting. Requesting that R2C, which was an initial plan to do 221 lots. Since then, the applicant has submitted an updated R2C submission, and this is a 200-lot subdivision that actually contains a 21.3 open space percentage, with your smallest lot being about 6,330 square foot, your average lot being a little over 7,000, and your largest lot actually being almost 13,000. So you can see through here that it has the green space in different pockets. And again, just a general annexation reminder to you all, no concept plan is binding. These are just submissions that the applicant has given. I also have an updated R2B submission that the applicant has given, and this is a 184-lot subdivision with a 5.2% open space. And that has the smallest lot at 9,000, the average lot size a little under 10,000, and the largest lot actually sitting a little over 20,000 square feet. It is currently zoned agricultural in the county. The future land use map proposes that it be residential because it is located inside of our urban service area. And I want to take a second to explain some surrounding densities, because I know there was a lot of conversation around that, both at our subcommittee meeting and at the last meeting. So what I have right here is how many dwelling units per acre. So for the R2s are not capped by density. There is no density requirement of the R2. Rather, they're more bound by lot size and lot dimensions. So you can see that the R2A is boasting 2.2 units per acre. This R2B is boasting 1.9 units per acre. This R2A over here is 1.1. And this R2C over here is 2.2 units per acre. Now for the RPs, I actually have what they're allowed and what their actual realized density is. So this RP2 is allowed 3.4 units per acre, and it actually goes up to 3.2 units per acre. And this RP2 down here is allowed 3.4 units per acre, and it actually reflects 1.9 units per acre. However, I do have this note of 2.2 units per acre in parentheses because 3 lots in this RP2 sit on top of a hill, and they're way larger than the other lots. So I actually pulled those 3 outliers out, and when you do that, you get a better feel for what the actual density is when you're driving down the street of those front-facing lots. So that actually reflects a little bit more like 2.2. So it neighbors this R2A in density pretty similarly. I didn't calculate the density of the RP5 because that's the ridges, and quite frankly, it's not very dense. You have a whole golf course out there, and it would take a lot to go through and calculate what that density is. And like I said, it doesn't reflect as very dense, but it could go up to 27.2 units per acre. That is the allowed density. So how that stacks up against their original proposal, which sat at 3.81 units per acre. The current, more recent R2C submission that you guys just saw a second ago sits at 3.44 units per acre. And their current R2B submission sits at 3.17 units per acre. So it is at the higher end of what is realized out there, but it is not out of proportion for what is in the area and what is allowed in the area. So again, I have this chart. I feel like it's going to be very helpful in our discussion tonight. You guys have seen it a lot. I don't feel the need to go too far in depth and explain, what we're talking about here. But we should probably focus on the R2A, R2B, and R2C. Staff recommends approval. The reason why staff is recommending approval is because the future land use map actually doesn't distinguish between residential densities. So the future land use map just says that this should go residential. And the bridge plan actually says that we should encourage a variety of housing opportunities and developments. And quite frankly, the R2A, the R2B, and the R2C, from a policy perspective, are all appropriate for this location. This did go to the strategic subcommittee, and they came back with a recommendation for you guys of R2A or R2B. They felt that it was best to let the full planning commission actually discuss and decide between those 2 zoning districts potentially tonight. So with that, I am here to answer any questions that you may have.
Ms. Bourne, you said that on this annexation and zoning request, there's no binding plan for it, correct?
That is correct.
Is there, on what occasions would there be a binding plan? Which process? Not for annexation, if it's a zoning change, does that require a binding plan?
A rezoning, but not a zoning assignment.
Thank you.
Could you show the original R2C plan again, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question?
Oh, yeah, no, sorry, I just wanted to see it. Sorry, I didn't have a question for the group. Sorry, didn't mean to make you all wait.
The neighborhood that's showing on this lower portion, do you have a map that will show their access point in and out of their neighborhood currently?
Yeah, that was back when.
Might be easiest with the, oh no, it doesn't show on the vicinity map.
It was on that first one.
The very first one?
One more.
I'm sorry, Chris, are you asking for the connection or?
The current egress and entrance and exit for the current neighborhood that's existing south of this property.
on Laurel Canyon, right there? That's
For
the-
Highland Park down off of,
Laurel Canyon. Yeah, I saw it on the last one. That one.
okay, sorry.
What does Laurel Canyon connect to?
It connects out to.
Highland Church.
Highland Church. Okay, so that's the access point for that neighborhood is Highland Church.
Is that that's not the only ingress and egress, right? Excuse me. Let me, the questions to staff. Is that the only ingress and egress for this development?
Yes, sir.
Not Highland Church, but for the proposed development?
The proposed development? No, the proposed development would connect to Boones Station Road.
So there's an ingress and an egress on the north and west side.
They have consistently in their submissions shown egress and ingress here, here,
Yep,
this
so there's-
connection here, and then a potential future step.
So there's 3 egresses of the neighborhood. Thank you. What was the max, if on the R2A, your little, what's the maximum number of units that they could use, since the concept plan is not binding?
For the R2A,
Yeah, or the R2B, R2A and R2B.
it's really difficult to give a maximum number of lots, and that's why I kind of strayed away from using a maximum allowed density for the R2s, because I did a lot of math with this, and I did a lot of calculations on how you can do, get that
Configuration.
number.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it really depends on the roads and how much you take out and how much you lay out. I mean, I can give you, a number that says, at the end of the day, they have this many square feet. You take out, let's say, a 20% for roads, and that's how many the maximum is. But it just manifests a lot differently depending on how it's built out. And I didn't feel like
with
that
just
was.
the reduction of what they're requesting, it looks like, what, almost 70 homes? Is that
They went
right?
from originally at 221 to 200 for their updated R2C, and then their R2B was updated to 184.
So 184, okay, so 40 plus lots. And remind me of the setback on the R2C, or on R2B, please?
Which setbacks?
Say it across the board.
Would you mind, not at this moment, emailing that to us at some point? That I keep making notes about this when we're having conversations.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd
We'd
like
be more
have
than
a
happy to.
Copy of it in front of me. Thank you.
It's very useful. I use it a lot.
It is very useful.
All right, any more questions for staff?
And I think you might have some public comment on this one.
Yes. Thank you, Peyton. If you want to take a seat, I'll open the floor for public comment. Who's here to speak against the motion? Feel free to come one at a time. I'll let you pick who wants to come first. Identify yourself at the podium.
Was there a
And you have
sign-in
3
sheet?
minutes.
Was there a sign-in sheet?
Good evening. My name's Andy Hodges, Hodges. I live at 124 Laurel Canyon. A couple things of concern again. The traffic study. What type of traffic study has been done for the inlets and outlets? I know y'all are talking about the outlets to Boones Station and Kefauver. Those are county roads. Those roads are not annexed into the city limits. We don't maintain, we don't upkeep those roads, okay? Highland Church is divided between the city and county. It is annexed into the city from the rear entrance to the ridges back to the Boones Station, Shadden Connector. All of that road is city. That is annexed in the city maintains it. The city just upgraded that for the Chestnut Cove development behind us, the triangle there. The city just went in and redid all that. So I know we talk about, when we're talking about the roadway, it's a concern because we had a traffic study done for our neighborhood last year. We qualified for the speed bumps based on the speed and the amount of cars and traffic in our neighborhood. But the neighborhood had to do a vote. We did not carry the vote we needed through the neighborhood to put the speed bumps in. All that is to say is, we have one inlet and one outlet to our neighborhood right now, and that's Highland Church Road. And I know the hope would be that people would use these other outlets on the backside, but you're filtering out to county roadway. I don't know how familiar you all are with that area out there. We lived out there for some time. I grew up in this area. I know those roads very well. Full disclosure, I'm a lieutenant with the police department. I'm very familiar with that area out there. Okay? Those roads are thin, narrow county roads. There's no binding upkeep for all this traffic that's going to be coming through there. I'm curious, is there going to be a plan to upgrade the roads in our neighborhood? Because we're going to see a lot more traffic through our neighborhood from this development. It's going to happen. Last year, we lost our school bus for the last 2.5 months of school in the afternoons. We had no city school bus dropping our kids off because of driver problems and things like that. But again, this adds students into the city school system, buses, traffic. Again, these buses are having to use county roads right now. And I don't know if part of this annexation includes annexing Boones Station or Kefauver in that area. I don't know, but I don't know how a developer is bound to upgrade a roadway like that. If the county is not going to do it, then how can we ensure that that roadway is proper for what we need and the traffic to give people a reasonable outlet on the back end? Couple other things.
30 seconds.
Okay. In that area, I don't know if y'all have been out and actually viewed the area. It is a less dense area. That's why we choose to live out there, based on the density and the room it gives us for our kids. And that's what I think a lot of the folks here are looking for, is the reflection of what we currently have. Not to say we're not open to new ideas, but we choose to live in an area that is less dense for these purposes, not to have it built up around us in a more dense area to where then we're encompassed in. Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please come forward.
My name is David Sabula. I live at 289 Laurel Canyon. Our house is immediately opposite the stub-in that will go into the proposed area. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on the project. I have two specific thoughts for the committee. I come from a manufacturing world where we discuss a topic. When we discuss a topic, we have a behavioral expectation that goes like this: go to the actual place, see the actual thing, and understand the actual situation. My first thought is that I believe that in the case before us, that approach would be most illuminating. Remember, a map is not the territory, nor is an overhead photo. Numbers on a paper are just that. They are not the character or substance of the area. And a non-binding proposal is not worth the paper it is printed on. Drive through the Meadows section of Highland Park and see what R2A actually looks like when it is executed. Drive more than 3/4 of a mile up the stub street off Laurel Canyon and look over the actual 58-acre plot. You have a great view of it from there. Drive through on Friday while you dodge the trash cans, lawn service trucks, and other vehicles. Through Highland Park sub is one of the main exits for the subject property. Drive east down Highland Church Road through the 15-mile-per-hour zone in front of the new Boones Creek Elementary School during morning arrival time, which is also morning rush hour. Dodge the double rear wheel farm trucks that are line to line on the road. Drive down the same stretch of Highland Church in the opposite direction in the afternoon, when parent pickup traffic comes all the way out of the school drive 2 lanes wide and spills onto Highland Church, interfering with through traffic. Continue along Highland Church, take a drive through the newly annexed Chestnut Ridge area, and see what R2B actually looks like when executed. Continue around the corner to see what the proposed 58-acre plot looks like. Remember that all the traffic from this area, as well as Chestnut Cove, has to drain out onto either Boones Station, which you're on, or through the Highland Park subdivision, and both of these merge before they have to go past Boones Creek Elementary. Continue up Kefauver Road, the north border of the proposed project. Yes, that tiny 1-lane dead-end road that floods over when the pond overflows, especially in the spring. Remember, this is currently agricultural land and it absorbs rainwater better today than after roads and homes are built.
30 seconds.
Figure out the fastest way back to the fire station. Yes, that is the one on the other side, north of I-26 and east off Boones Creek is the closest. Remember that in this interchange area, you are cutting right through the heart of the new Special Economic Development Zone. Did you look at your odometer? Yes. It's almost 5 miles and at least 10 minutes away. Which narrow, twisty county road did you choose for your route? Or did you go through Highland Park, a subdivision where school buses are not allowed to enter because the roads are too narrow?
3 minutes.
There are no main roads to get to the proposed area. So go, see, and understand. Listen, there's a story about a snowflake. How many snowflakes does it take to break a branch? Well, a snowflake doesn't weigh anything. But if we keep adding snowflakes, we're going to break the branch of Johnson City.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Spuler. Anyone else here to speak against the motion? Please come forward.
Thank you. My name is Bobby Castle. I live at 126 Boone Avenue, and I've just got some confusion about the little map that we were mailed out. The area in question is the black area, is that correct?
I do.
Little black area? You want to see that? I apologize.
This is the next, next.
The next one?
Yeah.
Well, pardon me. Guess who you'll see at the next meeting.
That's very understandable. Thank you. If you just don't mind
But
taking
I
your
guess
seat.
the black is the one we're going to be asking about? Okay.
Next
All
item.
right. Thank you so much.
Hold that for just a moment.
We'll see you next month, Mr. Castle.
No, I think we need
Oh, wait,
next
is it
item,
next
not
month?
next month. Sir? Please go ahead. Your name and address, please.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I would like to focus on the concern on the roads around this
Could you
development
state
and
your
the
name and
emphasis
address,
on.
please?
Pardon me?
Could you
name and
state your
address.
name and address, please?
My name is Pat, and my address 289 Laurel Canyon. I am right off the Butt Road.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to focus on the concerns around the roads of this development and especially emphasize Laurel Canyon. If you have not driven any of the roads, Boones Station, Kiefer Road, or Laurel Canyon, then it may be difficult for you to feel the struggles we are having at just the thought of increasing the number of cars on the roads that of the current existing, how they exist now. When we talk about the number of cars, what I would like you to think about is not just the homeowners' cars and trucks, but also the additional vehicles this development will bring onto Laurel Canyon. Landscapers for trees and bushes, weekly lawnmowers with their long trailers, chemical lawn care trucks, indoor house cleaning service, exterior house cleaning service vehicles, home repair vehicles, which there are so many of, heating and air conditioning and plumbing being the most common seen on Laurel Canyon, dog care services, propane trucks, car care services, pest control, fast food deliveries, grocery delivery vehicles, food direct sales like ice cream and Swans, and the endless run of UPS, FedEx, and Amazon and special delivery U.S. Postal Services, which have no idea what 25 miles an hour means, and have no idea how to stop so that you can see around them or the children can see around them. Now, let's add into that what we usually think of additional vehicles: garbage pickup trucks, recycling trucks, U.S. mail, leaf seasonal pickup and branch pickup, water meter readers, street cleaning vehicles. The list is long, but we also need to add in recreational vehicles that appear on Laurel Canyon, RVs, drivable and towable. I have one of those big 35-foot towables that barely fits up that road. Both small drivables and towables, golf carts, scooters, motorcycles, and cars visiting family and friends on that street. There may be vehicles we miss. That's because they're rarely seen, such as the pool cleaning truck. Picture all these vehicles adding to the already stressful Laurel Canyon with its hills, curves, and limited visibility, with a collection of walkers, joggers, and baby strollers, push and children. Then you can understand why we say stop, think about this, and think about what you're doing to our road, Laurel Canyon. What do we need to do for the roads to handle this additional traffic of vehicles, not just cars? It's more than cars. Think about it. Each home in Johnson City has an average of 2.5 vehicles. I have 5 motor vehicles plus an RV. In the In
30
the
seconds,
evenings, we
Pat.
must drive between parked vehicles. We have respectful neighbors who park their street vehicles, half on the grass, half on the road, because they can park beside each other to give enough space for us to get past and emergency vehicles to get past. Let's not add stress to Laurel Canyon. Please consider leaving the barrier between this new development and Laurel Canyon, please.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Evening, everyone.
Good evening, welcome.
Andrew Ferguson, 284 Laurel Canyon. Tonight, I've got several things, so I'm going to read for timeliness. Two main topics, density and accountability. We've already established the city appears to desire smart growth, but are currently armed with kind of dated zoning codes. Numerous conversations over the last month with staff, state representatives, commissioners. We've come to understand that zoning is the only control mechanism to dictate what is actually developed. Our ask has always been to consider developing this in a coordinated manner with what is developed around it. In this agenda, we've been presented with some new data. The data I'm referring to is on page 7. I've provided a markup for everybody and for the record if there's more conversation wanted to be had on it. But the narrative is that the commentary states that the proposed densities are not outliers, but the math shows a clear trend. The surrounding neighborhoods are actually 19% to 65%. It was 19 to 41 with the data that was provided, but when you factor in Garland Farms, which was just disclosed in this meeting, not in the agenda, it's actually 19 to 65% less dense than the R2B proposed density that's being proposed. One exception, 55 homes, RP2 and Chestnut Cove are the same density, developed as is, buildings in the ground. The data speaks for itself. My question is, why is this narrative not in the agenda? Why are we not talking about this? It's simple math. The next issue I want to talk about is accountability. Right. Even following last week's subcommittee meeting, where there was some pretty candid dialogue around the different zoning classifications, the developer has still come back with an alternative R2C proposal. You know, with some green space, which we know that the development code says they're not bound by anything, right? So I did a little bit of research on allied development. I would encourage all of you all to as well. Found some interesting things posted on Facebook. By the gentleman who's apparently the founder of this company and a couple other real estate investment companies, it looks like. And I've got documentation I want to provide into public record just of, you know, some commentary that was provided to provide us as a community a lens into what kind of development we are going to be seeing over the next 10 years.
30 seconds, Mr. Ferguson.
I've never actually seen the dirt on any of these properties. They're all done virtually from 1,000 miles away. Once I find the land and offer a fair selling price, I outsource all engineering and entitlement work to experts that approve it by the jurisdiction. By this time, I've already got it under contract to be sold at a publicly traded home builder to snatch it up, and I'll make a high 6 to high 7 figures for my efforts. Are they going to deliver on this handshake agreement to uphold green space when the zoning code doesn't require it? This is, and everybody knows it, nobody's saying it, this is about money. Zoning is just the legal mechanism that dictates how much can be made and who benefits from it. I would urge you all as city leaders to put our community first. Smart growth, because this is the precedent for what the next 15 years in this community is going to look like. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do I need to?
Thank you.
Nicole, can I see that?
Okay, great. Thank you.
Nicole, could you pass that along for us to look at before you put it away?
This. Okay.
Those are those calculations that are based off of the chart.
Anyone else? Please come. I'll let you choose amongst yourselves who, you go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Nicole.
My name is David Lambert. I live at 264 Laurel Canyon. my house is 2 houses or 2 lots from the interconnection to the new subdivision. And I hadn't noticed this before, but I have the old drawing, and it shows an exit out of this new subdivision. If you had it up there on the screen, it would be out to the right, which says to me that in their thought process, they're putting in you can see it right there. See the road going off to the right?
That's a
That says
stub
to-
out.
That says to me they're gonna put, their plan is to buy more property and put in more houses, which would all come up Laurel Canyon, and the majority of them up Laurel Canyon. Just like the connection road, 2 lots from my existing house was built to permit extension into or tie into the city because it would give you a roadway to connect to the city for annexation. You had 220 now, it's gonna be a nightmare. But buy some more property and add another 100, it's gonna be a bigger nightmare. I'm not opposed to development. I'm not opposed to houses in my backyard instead of the cows. But I am opposed to putting twice as many houses in this new subdivision as you could put in my subdivision, which is R2A. I hope you will seriously consider R2A.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Ann Tittle Mahan, and I live at 605 Boones Station Road. I was born in this community. I've been raised in this community. My father was a developer of homes. I remember as a child doing the parade of homes and staying in homes, and I'm very familiar with development. And I live on Boones Station Road now, and I've chosen, although I know that density is a word that was addressed last meeting, we're not afraid of density. I did choose, like someone else said, to live out a little bit. And right now on my front porch is a basket full of tomatoes, in addition to corn and peppers and all the cucumbers. All of you, if you'd like to have some, I'll share. So just because we live a little distance away, this proposal, and I have to go back to what my dad said in building, that we do it the smart way, we do it the right way, and that we let the money that we're building and doing stay in our community for the labor and the materials and the people that live here to make this big profit off of some kind of this project, but that we get to be able to stay in our community. And I chose to live out this illustration. My little slice, if you took away the 2 acres that I live on the top of my ridge, would be like taking 68 houses and putting them on my property and my driveway, getting them onto Boones Station Road. It's overwhelming. We know development's coming. We know the city's slipping out our way. And we, like has been said, I think I speak for everyone, we do not oppose the development, but please, we ask you as our leaders, as the people that we have elected to choose to represent us, that you represent us in the community, and that you make sure that you think about that when we do this, that R2A would be something more reasonable than putting a bunch of Cracker Jack boxes on a piece of property and filling up our road more than it already has been. And so we thank you for the discussion last Thursday and including us, and we hope that you will totally consider that R2A is the right zoning to do this community in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Hello, my name's Ryan Horn. I live on 288 Laurel Canyon. I recently relocated to the area for a new employment opportunity, and just wanted to share with you guys that my family had the opportunity. We're pretty blessed to select pretty much any area in the Tri-Cities area. My wife exclusively wanted to target Johnson City because of the beauty and abundant opportunities and things of that nature. And our search lasted several months, and we finally went out in a third round of a multi-offer situation. So, you know, I was just trying to emphasize that there's definitely demand in this area for quality, you know, high-quality homes. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Anyone else speaking against the proposal?
My name is Susie Redmond. I live at 596 Boones Station.
Can you pull the mic down to you a little bit?
Sure.
Thank you.
Sorry. Susie Redmond, 596 Boones Station Road. Honestly, live in my grandmother's house, and I have lived in Boones Station. I know who owned that property before it ever started, and grew up there. And I'll be honest, I'd have to be honest and say, I really don't like a whole lot of development out where I grew up, because I'm used to getting out and screaming and not having neighbors, or being just be able to walk down the road without worried about being killed. But I don't want to speak to you about, everybody's spoken to all those things. I'm an educator by trade. I'm a teacher and administrator, retired. And I think what concerns me the most about what we're doing to children and families, and I'm assuming that this type of development will encourage not just two-people residences, but families. And there is a lot of research that I would ask you to just look at as the amount of green space that children need, not just to walk. I'm looking at the green spaces there, and that's great. But when you're talking about children and yard and play areas in nature, you know, I've grown up and had the pleasure of having gardens and fields to run in, and not everybody needs that. I understand that. However, I will tell you that for psychiatric disorders, depression, and things that children experience at home before they get to school and then going to school, there's been a lot of research into how much less they have when they have green space to play in, and that does not mean having to travel to it, if that makes sense. So I would just ask you to think about that and envision what that looks like if you had 50% of it with families of 2 children.
30 seconds.
Okay, so thank you for your time. We appreciate what you all do, and just ask you to prayerfully consider that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Jeremy Brumbaugh. I live at 309 Michaels Ridge Boulevard, which is just south of this proposed development. It's right next to, adjacent to the Laurel Canyon, and that's actually a dead-end road, that Michaels Ridge Boulevard. And if you're in the neighborhood there, Laurel Canyon, I just wanted to clarify, there's actually only one road that exits through that entire neighborhood. So you have multiple dead-end cul-de-sacs on the left-hand side of this chart over here. And all those folks have to drive up north and then turn down and go through Laurel Canyon. So there's only one road, and one thing I was surprised about, I just moved to the neighborhood about 3 months ago. I was surprised how narrow the road was, and that there's people parking on the road. And when you drive through the neighborhood, you can't typically have 2 cars, one going each direction at the same space because of the cars parked on the side of the road. So it's just a little bit dicey if you have a lot of traffic, or folks going too fast. So just wanted to highlight that. I did like the lady's idea about not even connecting these neighborhoods. I think that would alleviate that whole issue. If you simply did not have a road connecting into the Laurel Canyon neighborhood, that would alleviate some of the challenges that were addressed here. But I'm also curious as to, and again, I'm new to Johnson City, so I don't know too much, so it's my first meeting. Is there like a larger plan that would show how much green space we want in this sector, or whatever, however you define this sector? And is that incorporated into this plan? And how do we ensure that we get that when this development actually comes to fruition? Because what I'm understanding, and I may have this wrong, is that there's no accountability for that. they simply, the developers or whoever's trying to build this, they simply need to get the approval for whatever R2 ABC, and then they build it as they desire, and there's no, as far as I know,
We're
understand.
not at a site plan level, we're just looking at zoning the property. That would
Okay.
come in a later stage.
So there would be a
There
review
would be a
of
later
that.
stage,
Got it,
yes.
okay. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You can check the subdivision ordinances through the city staff.
Got it.
That
Okay.
has the green space ordinances.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Anyone else speaking against the proposal? Come forward, please.
Good afternoon. My name's Marie Flanagan. I live at 210 Michaels Ridge Boulevard. And I've lived there 2 years. I love it. Living in a more country atmosphere is very appealing and very peaceful. And I appreciate having that R2A zoning in the background of Highland Park, which is the neighborhood in which I live. When I was, I mean, I'm way past that, but when I was in college, I did an internship with a city planning firm in St. Louis. So I do have a little bit of background. And I know that that road access coming through down to Laurel Canyon and out is probably necessary for emergency vehicles, fire, rescue, etc. Last week at the meeting, we did hear that with greater density, if there were a fire, there could be significant risk of a fire spreading. And that would obviously not be good. We do have some high winds here, and up in the country where the hills are, yes, the high winds do whip across. The R2A zoning is very appealing for another reason. I understand that the tax revenue expected from an R2A zoned community would be significantly greater, 43% greater than the tax revenue expected from an R2C zoning. And because we're talking about Johnson City and the whole community, and perhaps the need to upgrade roads because of development, tax revenues are very important. Later in life, for 39 years, I helped clients with investments at a national firm. And so I do understand how allocation of money in a community works, how the tax revenues work. One of my specialties was municipal bonds.
30
And
seconds.
Therefore, I do have an appreciation for the importance of the tax revenue. The idea that one of the other speakers mentioned about using local builders, local contractors, local workmen is very important because that brings revenue into the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Anyone else? Is anyone here to speak in favor of the proposal?
Let's speak against.
Okay, come on. You'll be the last one.
My name's Mark Brown. I live at 214 Laurel Canyon. And I wasn't going to speak this evening because personally I hate doing it. But something happened today, and I won't say it's an everyday occurrence. I left my house and I live right where the meadow sign is, which I dodge traffic all the time just trying to get out of my driveway with that meadow sign there. But anyhow, I'm going down the street to leave the subdivision. There's a cement mixer parked on the street, facing me on an angle, pouring concrete on my right with 2 trucks in front of it, pickup trucks, worker bees, On my left, there's 3 more pickup trucks. Wheels on the curb, other set of wheels on the sidewalk. There's a car behind me. Now, I have to slow down. I've got a Ridgeline pickup, so it's not some big honking vehicle, but I have to slow down because I'm looking at the front end of this cement mixer, and I'm looking at these cars. I might have a foot on either side of my truck, and I'm probably going 1 mile an hour. Knowing I was coming here tonight, the first thing that I thought of was, oh, there's a vehicle behind me. Slow down, because I slowed down. I'm thinking, at that point in time, there's a fire truck coming up through here. Now, hypothetically, well, you got a fire truck coming up here. What are we going to do? He can't go, as he's coming towards me, he can't go to his left. He can't go to his right around those trucks. He's going to have to sit there, wait for the person behind me to back up, wait for me to back up, and be honest with you, I'm not even sure if that fire truck would have made it in there. So now he's waiting just that much longer for them to shut down the mixer, get the guy in the truck, pull the truck up the road for this fire truck to get through. All the time, I'm thinking one of my neighbor's house is burning because there's not enough room on this street.
30 seconds.
So, with that being said, we're going to add 220 more vehicles coming up and down that street, and that's conservative. I'm just talking about one vehicle to a house. I don't want to see, I'm not against progress, build homes. But don't connect us to them and for them to use us as a thoroughfare to get out of their subdivision.
3 minutes.
It's not fair to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Come forward, please. Sir. I presume you're going to speak in favor of the proposal.
I'm the one that's going to speak in favor. Yes, sir. All right. I want to thank everybody for their time and attendance tonight.
Could you state your name and address,
I'm
please?
sorry. Yes, John McKenzie, 1090 Exchange Parkway, Allen, Texas. What I want to try to get through is what our vision is, what our vision was when we started this process, right? And we always want to understand the community, and part of that understanding was understanding what product needs to be in the community. And part of that, okay. So we've seen all this. I'm not going to continue on this one. We did come back and say there was a lot of discussion about open space. So we always take those comments in consideration, and we want to adhere to those comments, right? So we did go back and say, what would that open space look like in a plan? And that's what the plan that we came up with. Part of this plan would say, as it was mentioned before, Peyton did a great job of doing an analysis of the lot size, but we look at it even deeper and say, hey, we know 12,000 square foot houses are on the south portion, and so we would want to put 12s near that portion, right? We're always looking for a blended type product, okay? So this would show where 12s would be near the Highland Park, and then we would gravitate to 9s and then potentially go to 6s. Doesn't mean we'll go all the way to 6, but it just gives us that flexibility. And the reason why is because of the budget of folks that actually have to live in these properties, okay? Not everyone can afford, $700,000. So we look at that, of the market conditions. Part of that, we also looked at the R2B to say, hey, given the B standard at 9,000 square foot lots, what would that look like also by adding additional, or making the 12,000s closer to the Highland Park, right? All this is going to be variable, blended size when it comes down to it. One thing I did want to pull up was, in the last 12 months, the property sold, okay? So we're all kind of familiar, the asterisk is where the property's located. This is where the Boones Creek Elementary. I pulled this, most everything's above 600,000. You have some outliers that are in the 3s and 4s, and I did a little bit more zoomed in, and basically these are all the properties that have been sold within that period of time. You can see the size of the square foot, 38, 35, 46, 40, large homes. That's what goes on 12,000 square foot lots.
30 seconds.
Thank you. Our goal, smaller lots allow for a more efficient type property of about 2,000 square foot. So then that gives you more of a product mix similar to this. This is a project that we just recently completed. As far as, we haven't broken ground, but we are in the process of breaking ground. And just to give you kind of a quick snap, the house on the right was the 350 to 390, average about 1,800. The house on the left is a 2-story, averaging about 2,200. That's the type of product that we would find in the smaller lots. 12,000 square foot lots require bigger homes at a higher price. Okay?
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else here to speak in favor or against the proposal? Did you share all the information that you wanted to share, sir?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to close the public comments. So now it's up to us to talk about the question. Let's take the question apart first. Let's talk about the zoning question, not the plan of service. Questions for Peyton or questions, discussion amongst us?
And I can take you guys to any slide you might want to.
I had one question, Peyton.
Yes, sir.
Are the surrounding roads part of the annexation?
Yes, actually, the city has requested that we take in the roads. So the roads that are currently county roads surrounding this property, and down Boones Station Road will be acquired with the annexation.
But only the immediate surrounding of the property, not the extensions of those roads beyond the property, right?
Boones Station would connect. It would become a city road.
Would Kefauver is going to have some upgrades too, is that correct?
And yes, and P. Kefauver, so this road right here at the top.
Okay. And just for my clarification, there is an ingress coming in off P. Kefauver and a egress coming off of Boones Station?
Correct.
Okay. And is that a future stub on Michael's Ridge as well?
Michael's Ridge.
Or up here on the top left, bottom left? Right there.
Yes.
Is that where Michael's Ridge would be? I think so.
No.
No?
That's another undeveloped piece of property.
Undeveloped.
That's
It's just a stub?
dead-end stub.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
It would be for future developments,
growth.
and that's a requirement of the subregs to connect to future
Yep.
potential development.
Chris, is there anyone here who can speak from the subcommittee on why we ended up with the R2A and the R2B rather than just a recommendation from them?
Sean, would you like to take a shot at that? Would you please do that?
Absolutely. Well, a lot of the public was there, and we had some great discussions about it, and we felt that really we wanted to give the full planning commission kind of the grounds to have a good discussion on it. And once we talked about the reasons behind the R2A and the R2B, we determined that those two met the qualifications of the developer, and they also fit some of the requests of the the city members in the surrounding community. And that's why the R2C really fell out. But we felt like it was too heavy-handed for us to say, hey, yes, this needs to be an R2A or this needs to be an R2B. And one of the other reasons, because we did not have public comment at that meeting. That was a closed working meeting, and we did want to hear more public comment and felt like that was important for the whole planning commission to discuss and take into consideration.
Did you have any other questions?
No, that answered it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I would just like to make a comment that when I was looking at this, one of my thought processes to help that blending was to actually talk about subdividing the property and have an R2 and then an R2B or C below that going on towards Boones Station. So I would like to give credit to the developer if he does stick to that. Because that is how it is done in most places. There is a blending, and then you get to the more denser as you get closer to the ingresses and egresses. So thank you. I would like to also address the traffic issues going on Laurel Canyon. Is there still a homeowners association attached to the neighborhood? Yes. Is it active?
Yes. I'm the actual HOA president. We meet every month.
Wasn't there something about parking on the road within your?
Well,
I'm just saying because that's why your road is narrow.
the road's narrow because it's 21 feet.
Because of the HOA was.
No, when the subdivision was built, the roads are 21 feet wide, so there's traffic issues.
Yeah.
May I say something here?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am, I'm sorry. Public comments
I'll-
closed.
So anyway, that was part of it also when it came to the planning
We
commission.
address as things happen, one person don't want parking in the street, other people don't like parking in the yard. So what do you do? So we can't enforce that. To my knowledge.
Thanks, sir.
Chairman, if I may.
Yes, please.
Just want to thank everyone for taking the time out of your busy lives. I know you guys all have families, jobs, other places you need to be tonight. And I want to appreciate you guys all coming out and speaking with us and telling us your thoughts and your feelings and how you feel about this decision. It's not been lost on us, this meeting, prior subcommittee meeting, the prior meeting before that. So just really thank you guys for getting involved in your city. Thank you for being involved in your HOA. It's all very important. That being said, from my own study of this, my looking at it, driving out to the site, driving around, speaking to many of you on the phone, reading all of your emails, I would like to make a motion now to propose approval of the annexation, the approval of the plans and services, and approval of the zoning of R2A.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
Second.
We have
already
2
got a
seconds
Oh,
on
we
the
got a
floor.
second. I want to make sure we got a second.
So now we have a motion on the floor to approve the zoning of R2A and the plan of services that have been submitted by staff.
So the request was for R2C, so you guys would have to first deny that recommendation, and then,
We denied that at the prior meeting, though.
I don't think you denied it, you just sent it to subcommittee.
We voted on it.
Sorry, you did vote to deny, but you also voted to send it to subcommittee. Just for clarification, you might want to
Sure.
make sure that transpires again.
Okay, do you want to table that motion?
I thought the developer came back for it to be.
He gave two options.
He gave two
The R2C and the 2B. I'll make a motion that we deny the request to rezone to R2C.
We can't have two motions on the floor at the same time.
Oh,
I still have my
hurry up
motion.
and rescind
I'll
yours.
rescind my motion.
Do you want me to second that?
Commissioner Drive.
Could you rescind your motion?
I rescind my motion.
So the motion's been rescinded.
Okay, so now
you
can I
go
make
ahead.
my motion?
Yes, ma'am, sorry.
I'll make the motion that we deny the request to rezone for R2C, at R2C.
My preference is you say, make a motion to approve R2C, and we all just vote yea or nay on that. Instead of having a negative motion, if someone voted no
I don't
on
want to make a
negative-
motion to approve it. Sorry.
Can I make a motion to approve it?
Sure, you do
Okay.
whatever you want.
Let's try this again. We're gonna make a motion to approve the plan of services, to approve the annexation, and to approve the zoning for R2C. And then if you guys are not against that, then just say vote for no against it.
Somebody has to second that, right? Before you vote?
But we have
I
to
need a
move
point of
forward.
clarification. What is the developer requesting?
You've got a question, but I need a point of order.
Point of order.
Point of order, if you make a motion to approve and it fails, it's not a denial.
Yeah, but you need to make a motion to deny it.
It's just that the motion
I
fails.
thought that's what I
Okay.
did.
So I
Isn't that
rescind
what
my
I
motion
did?
the second time. Timber, it's all yours.
Is that not what I did?
That's what
That
you
is
were
what you
trying to
did.
do, he interrupted.
And I stopped you.
Don't interrupt me.
I want to know if you.
Okay, so I'm going to do this again. I'm going to make it a motion to deny the request to annex this and rezone it to R2C.
And is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to deny zoning at R2C. Any discussion of that? Nicole, call the roll, please. You've got your pad out, right?
I sure do. The motion on the table is motion to deny the zoning of R2C. Commissioner Aldridge.
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey.
Yes.
Commissioner Lockmiller.
Yes.
Commissioner Mays.
I have to abstain because my firm is involved with the underlying transaction of this.
Okay. Commissioner Murphy.
Yes.
Commissioner Oceanbine.
Yes.
Commissioner Pavlich.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Whitfield.
Yes.
Chairman Dagenhart.
Yes. Okay.
Motion to deny has passed.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Now I'll entertain another motion.
Ms. Hodges, anything else?
No, sir, I'm sorry, floor's closed.
Okay.
Something was brought up.
I'm sorry,
after
sir, the-
the floor was closed that I'd like to ask about, and it had to do with the annex of the road surrounding this property by the city. And I think the question on everybody's mind is, okay, they annexed these roads around them. How long before the city is gonna have the money to fix these roads to handle the additional traffic from this subdivision that is proposed? And in the meantime, do the roads get fixed first before the subdivision's allowed to be built? Or is that gonna be 10 years down the road with us dealing with all
Sir,
this traffic?
please let us do our business. Thank you. Thank you for your comment.
I apologize, but it was brought up after the fact.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion. You've heard it before. Motion to approve the annexation, motion to approve the plan of services, and motion to approve the rezoning of R2A.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Conversation or discussion about the motion. Does everyone understand the motion? Jenny?
I have discussion.
Okay, sure.
Can we, if the request,
We can't hear you, Jenny.
if the developer didn't bring us an R2A, can we do that?
Yes,
Can we do
yes,
R2A?
we can.
Just kick it this way.
So I guess where I'm going is, if we vote on R2A, and, because the property has not conveyed at this point, correct? The property is the property owned by the person who has made the request?
I'm not sure, but from a process standpoint, the request is what the request is. And technically, the developer can still move on with the request for R2C even to city commission. That would just look like this is what the developer is requesting. Planning commission recommends denial of that. They instead recommend a zoning assignment of R2A or whatever you choose.
Okay,
Yeah, this is a recommendation to the city commission.
okay.
Correct, yes, this is the recommendation.
So any other questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none. Nicole, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aldridge.
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey.
Yes.
Commissioner Lockmiller.
No.
Commissioner Mays.
Abstain.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yeah, I want to make mention that that we've heard the concerns of our citizens on today, and throughout the last several weeks, we as community leaders are committed to smart growth. Community is priority. You guys are first. We as city leaders are committed to that. We are not anti-development. We are pro-development. But growing in the way that we wanted it to look like is important to us as a community at whole. I want to thank the committee for the hard work they put in. Last week, we had some really good discussions, tough conversations, and I see that tonight there was a motion put on the floor. I second that motion to support efforts of smart growth. I do understand there are other requests that are coming down through the pipeline, and the same efforts do apply. And so I know this is not the last time we'll have a tough one to deal with, but tonight does mark a major milestone for me that we take ample time and we lock in, that we do whatever it takes to do our homework and to make the right decisions for the best of Johnson City at whole. And so I say all that to say this: yes, that's my vote.
Commissioner Oshenbein,
Yes.
Commissioner Pavlich,
No.
Vice Chairman Whitfield,
Yes.
Chairman Dagenhart.
Yes.
Motion has passed to approve annexation, plan of services, and recommend the zoning of R2A.
All right, thank you very much.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, if I may, just for a point of order for the record.
Yes.
We, at the first motion, we did not mention the annexation or plan of services as a part of that motion. Is it to be understood that the annexation and plan of services were also a part of the approval of that motion, to approve the annexation and plan of services to move forward?
Who made that motion?
That would have been Commissioner Aldridge.
Yes, so you intended that motion to
Oh,
be
yeah.
all three?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
All right,
Thank you, Chairman.
And let me also make a point of order. We have received a lot of digital input from the community. I
Yes,
want to
sir.
make sure that's put into the record.
It is, yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, so thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and thank you for your participation in your community. So you're welcome to stay, or you're welcome to excuse yourself. All right, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda after about 30 seconds.
Thank you, Commissioners.
If you could leave the room as quickly and as quietly as possible.
In January. That's what got me doing it.
Never addressed this.
Yeah, right. Right. Agreed.
Because the zoning is.
Right.
So,
So what's got this
hey,
thing? Never noticed it before.
I don't know, the zoning
Just put
goes.
that in here. You're gonna have to move the others. Can't stretch my back legs out.
Okay. If you'll please, thank you. Thank you, the rest of you, for taking your seat. We'll move on to the next item on Washington County rezoning on North Rhone Street.
Close that door.
Who's got that item?
They're out in the hall.
I think it's Whitney. Whitney, do you have the next item up? Okay, sorry, thank you.
Okay, so we are looking at a Washington County rezoning. I do believe that's, yes, okay. And this is located along Rhone Street. I'm going to kind of explain kind of how this came about. But the request is to take about a 1.8 acre piece and to expand B4 back to this particular spot in order to allow for boat storage for Rockingham Marina. And so this is kind of their concept plan, or where they're expanding to. And I think that this helps because some of this is in the city, some of this is in the county. So this here shows this where it is in the city and what it is zoned in the city. So this is the front of that parcel, and it is in the city, and this part would be in the county. And then if we switch that, this is in the city, and this is zoned B4 in the county, what they want to do is expand back to here. So kind of just getting step by step of how this is kind of coming about. And just looking at those zonings combined, you've got B4 in the front, and so where you see in this area that there is some boat storage, they want to kind of continue that on.
Is it split zone now?
It is split zone now. And that's one of the things that staff would recommend, is that it all be in one parcel, just so it make it easier on enforcement. The future land use does call for this to be residential, but like you see here, this is already commercial, and so extending this to be commercial just a little bit farther would follow the natural kind of way of this land. There's a stream here that would make that, like, crossing it any further something difficult, because coming to here, the rest of this parcel could be accessed off of this road, and I believe there's a street stub through here. So, but that kind of gives you an aerial. Staff would recommend for this rezoning, and would recommend it to Washington County, because that's who will make the final decision. And in addition to that, we'd also recommend that they subdivide the parcel, just to make it easier to enforce. That's just our own kind of, you can take it. If they don't want to do it, it's Washington County. If they can, it's Washington County. So, but at the time of site plan, they would need to provide buffers, if buffers are needed, or if lighting is needed. That would be a site plan decision that Washington County would process.
All right, any questions for staff?
So this is, I mean, there's no annexation.
No
attached to
annexation,
this,
no.
But it is, this section is,
Sorry, let me go back.
Yeah.
So we're in that, so because you're a regional planning commission, you make a decision, you make a recommendation that goes to Washington County. And so this property will stay in the county. The only portion that's in the city is this portion right here. And that will stay in the city.
we're not talking about that one.
We're not talking about that. It's already rezoned. We're talking about this back here.
We're talking about a recommendation that we're gonna give to Washington County.
Yes.
And what's it currently zoned?
It's currently zoned R1. So it's
R1.
currently, yeah, it's currently zoned for residential.
But it's split zone,
It's split zoned.
so B4 and or.
Yes, and it's
currently being used for
It's
both.
currently being used. I know that there has been a notice of violation with kind of this creep, so this would remedy that violation issue.
Was there a community meeting held?
It's not a requirement of Washington County.
That would be this meeting.
So Whitney, because this is Washington County, what bearing does that have on the fact that y'all are recommending that the property owner subdivide the property?
It's just a recommendation, just for ease, and I'm just saying it so that the applicant will listen to it, and maybe they will go ahead and recommend subdividing. It might make it easier on their property stuff too. So.
All right, any other questions for staff?
Oh, sorry. There is a bridge plan policy that does apply, and there's our recommendation, and there's.
Okay, discussion, questions for staff? We have a public meeting. I'll open the floor for public comments. Is anyone here to speak for the proposal or against the proposal?
Mr. Castle?
Mr. Castle? Come back.
You seem familiar.
Thank you. I apologize again for the confusion. But if I'm looking at the...
Could you state your name and address, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just for the record.
Actually, it's Donald Castle, Donald R., Bobby Castle, 126 Boone Avenue. The revised map that I was given by a gentleman back there, I'm assuming we're talking about the shaded area of the map I'm given, which my property, is this the area we're speaking of?
Yes, and so that everybody's on that same page, let's
Okay.
go back to that site plan. Right there.
Right there, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so if you're looking at that map, following left to right, I appear to be the last house there at the end. I don't have any opposition as far as, them doing anything with that property. They appear to be very good neighbors. They've only owned that for a couple of years, best of my knowledge. But the concern I have is Boone Avenue, just like the people in the past proposal we're speaking, Boone Avenue is a very narrow road. So if they have any kind of plans of trying to cut an access road through there to alleviate traffic or anything like that, I don't know the plans, but if they do, it's going to be a nightmare because we're already fighting. And I'm nothing against Progress or boaters or anything, but the people going to the boat docks cut through Boone Avenue. Boone Avenue, that's actually a residential neighborhood, and they're cutting through. Speed limit's 20 mile an hour by the county. 50 mile an hour, and they don't care to go any faster if they can take the curve. So, there were small children that lived there. They don't live there anymore, not because of the traffic, but they've grown up. But I apologize for that. But, it's...
Stand up your other gig?
I'll be at the Holiday Inn this weekend. No. But if by some chance someone sells there in the area and a younger family does move back in again, it's a concern to me. I mean, I had small grandchildren. They're grown now. And so when they would come to visit, I would always have to watch because our home faces, pretty close to the road. There's not a lot of frontage there. As far as them putting something up, like I said, I don't have any kind of problem with that. The only thing is just the road. And if they want to cut some kind of access road to alleviate traffic from Rhone Street, that would be the only thing that I would be concerned about.
Mr. Cass, I'm having a hard time finding the road in question. I'm sorry.
Put a map up that shows, sorry.
Is it the one that, are they going through a vacant lot to get to that?
No, they'll be going through here, and there is a road already
is that
down
Boone?
this way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Boone. Oh, okay.
But
I thought that was an house.
That's that little skinny.
let me get to, this is the road that he's talking about.
Right.
Oh.
How do they get over to it?
It's a curvy kind of...
They wouldn't, I don't believe that is their intention because of this stream. To cross that would be rather expensive. If they developed this property, that would access this.
Well,
But they're not developing.
The
This is
marina
not a
also
question.
owns that building.
This one?
Nope, come down. That
Right
one.
here.
Yep.
No.
That's their headquarters.
Yes.
So they're using that as their driveway access road?
Yes, to Pickens Bridge.
Yep. So that's the road you're talking about?
That's the road that everyone should be taking, to come around. That was one that was designed by the county, but they use Boone Avenue as a cut through.
To go to how do they get there?
Yeah, how do they get to Boone Ave? That's what I can't figure out.
They turn off of Rhone Street. It's
Oh,
actually...
and come out.
Oh, to get to the
that, and then they cut
To the
through.
boat
lake,
docks,
to get to the
not
lake.
to that space.
Yes, to go
Yes.
to
Okay.
the lake.
Because they don't want to go left out of there, and they can't get the boat to take that turn on by their
Sure,
building.
that Pickens Bridge has got that big steep curve.
Yep.
And so it's hard for them. Same thing, I think Tree Streets went through that too. That's the reason they put all those speed bumps in. And I called the Washington County Sheriff's Department, I'm probably speaking over my limit, but to ask them to come out and monitor. They don't have the manpower, they don't have the resources. I said, well, you can make it up in tickets. I mean, you can set in my driveway and get $2,000 a day in tickets, but.
That's Friday night? That's Friday night, right?
Okay, sir.
But, guys,
Yeah, I think that's.
So, as I say, I don't have any opposition to the.
There's a new casino in Bristol. They're looking for acts all the time.
Thank you, sir.
Actually, I was told I did miss my call.
Yeah, you did.
Ma'am.
Thank you.
That's funny.
I'm Cynthia Kessler for Kessler Properties. We own 153 South Pickens Bridge Road in the city of Johnson City, to the south of the area. It's problematic to rezone a spot within a larger tract of land with no definitive boundary between the differently zoned areas. The appropriate action would be to approve a variance to allow Mr. Miller's non-conforming use to continue to exist where he's using it presently in the residentially zoned area. This is important because B4 is arterial business and is an expansion into a residential area. The aerial map showed how much of a residential community surrounded this larger tract of land and is actually part of the 1 acre tract that is being proposed to be rezoned. While Mr. Miller's use is the lowest disruptive use in B4, the rezoning of the property would be permanent and would allow any retail, restaurant, or even a hotel use on that property, again, without any defined boundary between the residential portion and the B4 portion. Converting property from residential use to B4 is inconsistent with the present needs of the City of Johnson City and Washington County, both of whom have recognized that there's a shortage of housing. Even earlier tonight, you recognized Goal 2.5, which I believe is encouraging a variety of housing opportunities and development. What you have is a surrounding residential area of affordable housing. And I don't mean that in a negative context. These houses are affordable, they're on right-sized lots, they're immaculately maintained, they have an exceptionally high quality of life. And to intrude a B4 or to expand B4 into that area would permanently negatively affect those residential areas. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Kessler. Anyone else here to speak to the question?
My name is Jonathan Lewis. I work with the property owner with Highlands Engineering. I live at 4605 Bristol Highway. And I think what a lot of people don't realize about this piece of property is we're approximately 30 to 40 feet above the stream that that kind of separates the remaining R1. There's no logical way to develop the area that we're talking about into residential. And if you kind of see right there, I think it says 2.64 acres. Let's see if I can. This is currently B4. This is on the same elevation. It's just a continuation as far as elevation-wise. You get to the rear of this property, and you're talking about like 40 foot of difference between where we're at here as we are opposed to over here. So there's not there is a physical delineation between those two. Whereas, this area down in here is almost like a separate tract when you look at it elevation-wise. So that being said, I don't think that it's going to affect any of the residential in that area. All of that will remain R1. It's just a continuation of what's already been zoned B4. If there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'll close the public comment so we can talk amongst ourselves.
Is the 1.81 acres and the 5.09 acres, are those currently one lot?
They're currently one lot.
It's currently one, okay.
All of
they're
it,
subdivided.
actually. So the 5 acres, the part we're talking about, and the Rhone Street, they're all one tract of land.
Yes. Yeah, okay. So, the whole outline, the big dotted line is one thing?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we recommend approval of the rezoning of the portion based upon the physical attributes of the property. Also, that we include in that recommendation that they separate these into 2 different parcels, as that would make everybody's life a little bit easier, including the title companies.
Second motion.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second on the floor. Does everyone understand the motion? Discussion of the motion?
I have just one question. So the buffer
Could you
is
speak to
based
the
on...
microphone, please?
Sorry. So the buffer is based on the county?
It would be.
Okay.
State the motion one more time.
motion to recommend approval of the requested rezoning to B4 for the section, and also including the recommendation that the property be subdivided into 2 different parcels.
Thank you.
A B4 parcel and a residential parcel.
Yes.
Any other questions or discussion? Nicole, would you please call the roll?
Do we have a second?
Yeah, we have-
I seconded the motion.
Oh, okay.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey?
Yes.
Commissioner Lockmiller?
Yes.
Commissioner Mays?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Commissioner Oshinbain?
Yes.
Commissioner Pavlich?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Whitfield?
Yes.
Chairman Dagenhart?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you very much. Okay, we've got another rezoning.
Okay, so this rezoning is within the city of Johnson City. And where it is at the end of Hopewell Drive. So if you were to drive out here, on MedTech Parkway, there's a large tract of land, about 17 acres. And this has been, RP4. And they would like to rezone it to B4 and continue that medical office and office space that is in that part of the park. It does have visibility from State of Franklin, but no access. That's just to show you where that is. Their site plan looks as this. So they are proposing 3 buildings, a road that would continue all the way through. There would be, the main building that they'll start with is the Johnson City Ag Clinic and Surgery Center. And so they'll have these 2 access points here, which would mean that this comes all the way down. Now, there are some things that they need to address with engineering. And those are to correct the right-of-way so that it matches up with the existing Hopewell. There needs to be an 8-foot trail on one side and a 5-foot trail on, or 5-foot sidewalk on the other. And then they need a control strip. They are currently not showing where their stormwater detention is. While I do believe they have probably figured that out, it's just not shown on this plan. And then for planning, they need to show the setbacks, heights, and that control strip, like I said. Those can be easily added, and added as a condition if you would like to move forward. The future land use calls for this to be a medical, and so what they're asking for is in line with that. A concept plan was required because it does abut residential. A neighborhood meeting was held, and there was no public comment. We have some applicable bridge policies here and a strategic plan policy of kind of supporting existing businesses and that type of thing. So staff would recommend approval, but with the conditions that these be met as it moves through the public process before it is approved by the City Commission.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Whitney. Any questions for staff? I'll open the floor for public comment. Is anyone here to speak to the question?
Hey, Whitney.
Please come forward and state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Petzel, owner of TCI Group. I'm the developer of this property. A little history about it. Johnson City Eye Clinic and Surgery Center are my clients. And when MedTech Park was developed some years ago, they acquired this 18-acre tract as a future location for their practice. At that time, they acquired 3.5 acres in the park and built a 35,000 square foot medical office building that they have practiced out of since MedTech Park was created. They've outgrown the property. 2.5 years ago, we started planning for this development. COVID kind of put the brakes on it for a while. The the principles of the Johnson City Eye Clinic and Surgery Center are the principles for this development. Hopewell, it was a landlocked piece of property when they purchased it, and they funded the construction of Hopewell Drive some years ago. So they did that to create a legal track. At one point in time, they had a developer come and wanted to build apartments there. So they agreed to contract with that developer. He came here and had the property rezoned for apartments. He didn't perform, and that's been some years ago. And so now the future is here. And the development is planned for a 60,000 square foot medical office building, 20,000 square foot surgery center, 40,000 square foot clinic area. It'll take about 2 years to engineer it, site work, construct it, and open it. They will be selling their existing facility along the way. And so we're asking for the rezoning to allow the development of it for their use. It's a challenging site, very well aware of stormwater management. I have a contract with Tysinger and Hampton to do the engineering, and they're very familiar with the property and what to do. So, but before we can start that work, we've got to make sure we can provide what it is that they need to have done with the property, and that's to build a medical office building. That's why we're requesting the rezoning. I hope you will approve it. Any questions? I'd be glad to try to answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments from the public? Questions? I'll close public comment. All right, we have discussion amongst us, or any follow-up questions for staff?
So it's currently zoned residential?
It is.
Okay.
Okay.
It's R4.
Okay, well,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'll go ahead and say that I think from my vantage point, this is makes perfect sense from every aspect of it. That would be a very difficult residential development right there, given the nature of the surrounding property.
Could you go back to the site plan? Please. Considering this is a rezoning, is this site plan binding?
It's a concept plan, yes.
I'm sorry, concept plan, but it's binding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
As binding as a concept plan is, yes.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion, approve the zoning change from,
RP4.
RP to B.
From RP4 to B4.
We need to pull this
Yes,
up.
I will.
So I'm a guess here. Thank you. Approval of zoning property from B4 and concept plan, as well as the staff considerations that you were asking.
I'll second. Did you get all that? Okay. Okay, I'll second.
All right, any discussion about the motion? So if I could clarify, the motion includes the consideration for the follow-up to document the stormwater runoff, is that correct?
It would include, the way I understood it is it includes staff recommendation of getting those site plan things on the plan.
On the plan.
Prior to its final approval.
Okay.
Could staff just pull up the recommendations,
Yes.
please?
There you go.
So, including showing the setbacks and height, adding control strip, correct the right-of-ways, and show the stormwater retention areas.
All right, any discussion? Nicole, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey?
Yes.
Commissioner Lockmiller?
Yes.
Commissioner Mays?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Commissioner Oshinbaum?
Yes.
Commissioner Pavlich?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Whitfield?
Yes.
Chairman Dagenhart?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Okay. Mr. Ryder, I think you're up next.
Good evening, Chairman Dagenhart, Vice Chairman Whitfield, and Commissioners. This is a request for preliminary plat approval of the Moss Point Holdings subdivision plat and Chase Drive extension of right-of-way. This is the plat itself. You can see this subdivision and dedication. The subdivision would create this one 8.121 acres lot, and then it would also, it's also to dedicate the road. So the way the process works for any newcomers is typically we receive a preliminary plat to subdivide property when there's infrastructure involved, building infrastructure, that sort of thing that involves a road dedication of right-of-way. Then it comes to a preliminary plat, then it goes to construction plans, and then they build it, and then it comes back for final plat. This one was a little bit odd in that we've actually already approved the construction plans with a civil set. There's nothing wrong with that, a civil set for a site plan that came in, and that plan was approved. Based on, it ties into a previous approval you all gave a year ago, which we'll get into in a moment. So, but for the plat itself, it meets all the subdivision regulation standards. This is an extension of the existing Chase Drive, which I'll show you on a location map in a couple slides. And it extends across the property over to the adjacent property line to the south here. There's also a variance request associated with this preliminary plat. The variance request was actually requested by city staff, and that is simply because the existing local non-residential cross-section is a 55-foot wide cross-section. The existing Chase Drive that's being extended is a 50-foot right-of-way, so it only made sense to continue the street in the same with the same width. But you can see here's the variance request. Here's the typical cross-section. We still have a sidewalk. We still have a 5-foot sidewalk on this side. We still have the 8-foot multi-use sidewalk on the other side. So no major deviations there. The only difference being the difference in this grass. I'm sorry, I'm getting used to my new eyes here that I have on. Apparently I was wearing long-range glasses for the last few years. I went to the doctor about 3 or 4 years ago, and I said, hey, I can't see up close. So they gave me these glasses, and I took them back, and I said, I can't see 5 years later. They said, well, these were for seeing far away. Okay, so these just came in the mail. So the only difference is this grass verge right here, which is 3 feet on this side and 7 feet on this side. Again, the city initiated the variance request. This came to you back in March of 2021 to develop this site. Now, we're not reviewing the site plan. This isn't a concept plan. The property is already zoned B4, so it's a permitted use. But the condition to cross this control strip at the end of Chase Drive was to build a section of public street or section of road to public street standard, which they had proposed, and you all approved it based on them building them out to this point, providing an easement to extend all the way to the adjacent property with a private drive that cut up to the property. Well, the new design is much better. We're getting a road, and what happened is a subsequent plan, that future development came in a hurry. That subsequent plan is the vintage apartment complex of several hundred apartments that are going to be, and so it hurried the need to create the road. So, plan is Chase Drive extend all the way to the other property line. We have approved construction plans to construct for them to construct it to this tributary here at this property line, and then Vintage, we are reviewing construction plans for Vintage to tie into this and install the culverts and connect the road. So we recommend that you, staff recommends grant approval of the preliminary plat and of the variance request to reduce the street cross-section to 50 feet.
Thank you, Mr. Ryder.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for staff? I'll open the floor for public comment. Is anyone here to speak to the question? Please come forward with your name and address.
Odell Cash. I'm with Tricon Builders, 2715 East Oakland Avenue. Mr. Hutton, Steve Hutton, did the original plans and passed away in process, so we're just here if you have any questions or anything that you'd like answered. We're trying to help the developers finish it through and get everything going. They have agreed with the other property owners and have their elevations. Everything will tie together and work properly. All the sewer easements and everything's agreed on, so it's just waiting on you guys.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other question, any other input? I'll close the public comment.
Question.
Go ahead.
So is it a variance request or a variance already given?
No,
Are we
it's
approving
it's a
that?
variance request of the subdivision regulation, so only the planning commission has the power to grant the approval of the variance to reduce the cross-section.
Very good.
The
Thank you.
right-of-way, cross-section right-of-way from 55 to 50 feet.
Correct,
Which would match with the existing Chase Drive.
with the existing Chase Drive.
Right. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Wright. Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to grant approval of the preliminary plat and of the variance request to reduce the street cross-section to 50 feet.
Second.
All right, any discussion of the motion or any clarification needed? Nicole, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey?
Yes.
Commissioner Lockmiller?
Yes.
Commissioner Mays?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Commissioner Oshinbain?
Yes.
Commissioner Pavlich?
Yep.
Vice Chairman Whitfield?
Yes.
Chairman Dagenhart?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, Will, you got the last item.
Okay, this is a final plat for the dedication of Horizon Lane Road, which is essentially you're naming the street. This was, usually these final plats are on the consent agenda and you do not have to listen to me speak. This one was a little bit unusual, so I thought that we probably ought to at least discuss it. Our city surveyor drew this plat. It is simply the city constructed this street. It's .09 miles. It's a street dedication. It was constructed by the city, but it was never dedicated. And it was part of, constructed as part of an improvement project for the North State of Franklin, Skyline Drive, and Indian Ridge intersection back in 2016. This area that I know you are all familiar with, this is the Food City out there at the corner of State of Franklin Road and Sunset. There is a proposed development that's going in this. Nothing that the planning has to come to the planning commission. It's a driver center. It's a permitted use in the zoning district. But they need an address, which is why we need to get this street named. The lines don't really match up. That's because I think these blue GIS lines, I believe, are off a little bit. So this is roughly the area of the road. It connects to Skyline Road. And the other part of this request is that there is a policy that states that the Johnson City Board of Commissioners have to approve any name of any public building, infrastructure, or facility owned by the city of Johnson City. So we are simply asking, and just for your curiosity, this was the plat in 2016. It just says public right-of-way. There's no street name, so it was never officially dedicated. So we're recommending that you grant approval of the road dedication plat and recommend to the Board of Commissioners to name the subject street Horizon Lane, which is in keeping with Skyline.
Any questions? I'm going to open and close the public comment. Any other discussion?
Make a motion to approve road dedication and plat and recommend name of the subject street Horizon Lane.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any clarification of the motion?
Take your pick.
None given. Nicole, please call the roll.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey?
Yes.
Commissioner Lockmiller?
Yes.
Commissioner Mays?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Commissioner Oshinbain?
Yes.
Commissioner Pavlich?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Whitfield?
Yes.
And Chairman Dagenhart?
Yes.
Motion approved.
All right, hearing, seeing no other business, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.